Baba! Baba Yaga!
In the Dungeons & Dragons role-playing game, Baba Yaga is considered the grandmother of witches and serves as the foster mother of Iggwilv, also known as the mother of witches or Tasha. This lineage then means Baba Yaga is the grandmother of the vampire Drelza, as well as Ayuz, an evil demigod from the world of Greyhawk. With this video, we'll learn some relevant information from Baba Yaga's Slavic folklore. We will attempt to clarify what I believe are some mischaracterizations about her in official Dungeons & Dragons publications. In the actual myths, Baba Yaga may be both the villain and the hero. It is my hope that by the time we finish, you may be inspired to include her in your game as the complex and intriguing character she has always deserved to be. In fact, I believe you will recognize that Baba Yaga may very well be the perfect quest giver for your brave adventures. What if instead of being the scary old cannibal witch that rumors have made her out to be, she is in fact a wise, resourceful, and powerful benefactor that assists the players in their quest? Now, a quick disclaimer. Due to the vast scope of Russian and Slavic folklore, alongside with over 4 decades of D&D lore, it's challenging, perhaps impossible, to cover all aspects of her character with a brief YouTube video. I do not possess a PhD in Slavic folklore, so if you're seeking a more focused discussion on Baba Yaga, there are numerous sources that you might find online. If you are aware of some important details pertaining to the topic that you feel we could all benefit from and would like to share it with us, please do so in the comments.
Who is Baba Yaga?
Baba Yaga is a complex figure from Slavic folklore, particularly prevalent in Russian tales. She is often depicted as a witch or supernatural being, and her character may embody both benevolent and malevolent traits. Baba Yaga's first documented appearance seems to be from woodblock prints dating from the late 17th and early 18th centuries. In some of these, she is depicted as riding a pig into battle, where she fights a creature known as the crocodile. Scholars have differing opinions about their intended purpose, some interpreting these as political parodies, while others believe they reveal Baba Yaga to be a shaman. The age of these images suggests stories about her had been passed down through ancient oral traditions. Her first written mention is in a Russian grammar book from 1755. I assume there were more examples, but these are the oldest which have survived the ages. In Russian and Slavic folklore, Baba Yaga appears to be more of a title than a personal name. In some stories, there are 3, likely sisters, of which the oldest will often be referred to by the title of the Baba Yaga. Pronunciation of her name may vary depending on regional accents and personal preferences, though Baba Yaga is most common. However, Baba Yaga is also accepted. The name Baba Yaga is of Slavic origin and dates back to at least the medieval period. There are numerous debates about the etymology of the name, though I'm not entirely sure that is of much importance for our games. However, the first part, Baba, is a Babel word, which are often among the first word-like sounds made by infants. Therefore, Baba likely means something akin to mama. If you really want to get into the weeds on that, you'll find that in addition to mother, Baba might also mean old woman, midwife, sorceress, or even just married woman. In modern Russian, it is tied to the word for grandmother, which is babushka. Yaga, on the other hand, is a bit more tricky, and there is some disagreement among scholars. The one thing that they do seem to agree on is that Yaga has negative associations and meanings. Some suggest it may come from the old Slavic word meaning horror, anger, or shudder. Others propose it could be related to the Proto-Slavic word for snake, witch, and evil woman, or scary female bodily functions. Because yes, men were terrified of such things. Cue South Park clip.
Sorry, Wendy, but I just don't trust any—
You know the one. Though her age is unknown, she is typically portrayed as an old woman with a long, crooked nose and a hunched back. Some tales claim her nose is so long that when she lies on her back, it touches the ceiling of her hut. Baba Yaga's skin is often depicted as being rough and aged. She is sometimes described as being extremely thin, to the point of skeletal, and one of her nicknames is Bone Leg. Her hair is long, unkempt, tangled, and matted, giving her a disheveled appearance. Her hair can be either gray or white, further emphasizing her old age and otherworldly nature. As if all of this wasn't horrible enough, one of her most distinctive features are her teeth. They are often described as being made of iron or steel. This detail adds to her fearsome appearance and once again places emphasis on her supernatural nature. When she roams the countryside or dark forests where she resides, she rides in a great mortar, appearing as a great iron or stone cauldron, which she propels through the air using a giant pestle as some sort of magical oar. The precise measurements or details of her speed and height of travel are unknown. The stories generally describe her flight as swift and magical, allowing her to cover great distances in a short amount of time. The mortar is often depicted as flying low to the ground, skimming over the treetops, or gliding just above the Earth's surface. This ambiguity allows for the exact capabilities of her mortar to be left to our imagination and the interpretation of the storyteller. As she travels, Baba Yaga uses a broom made of silver birch to sweep away her tracks. Baba Yaga is sometimes associated with pagan beliefs, and some theories suggest her origin may be traced back to ancient Slavic goddesses of death, rebirth, nature, and time. In the legends, she is known to live deep in the forest, surrounded by the wilderness. She can communicate with and command animals, often using them as helpers or guardians. At times, she is depicted as a guardian of the boundary between the living and the dead, and may even possess the ability to grant or deny access to the realm of the dead. This connection to death is further emphasized by her association with bones and her alleged cannibalistic tendencies. To address her alleged cannibalistic tendencies, many stories do indeed depict Baba Yaga as threatening to eat the protagonists. In some tales, she is said to have a particular fondness for the flesh of the young. However, in most of these stories, the protagonist manages to escape before she can carry out her threat. The depiction of Baba Yaga as a cannibal serves to heighten her terrifying image and the danger she represents. Whether she has actually eaten anyone in the stories often remains ambiguous, adding to her mysterious and unpredictable nature. What we might interpret from this is that her cannibalistic aspect is actually symbolic rather than literal, and given other facts we know about her personality, it likely represents the devouring of our own fears, weaknesses, or vices. To support this theory, there are several examples in folklore where she helps individuals who approach her with respect and humility. The moral lessons from Baba Yaga's stories often revolve around themes of resourcefulness, bravery, and the importance of kindness, honesty, and respect. She is known to provide guidance or magical items to those who can answer her riddles or complete her near impossible tasks. Characters who are clever and respectful can often outwit or appease Baba Yaga, while those who are rude or lazy may be transformed into tiny forest animals. In the Cinderella tale of Vasilisa the Beautiful, Baba Yaga aids the protagonist, Vasilisa, who had been sent to Baba Yaga's hut by her evil stepmother. Instead of being devoured, as the stepmother had hoped, Vasilisa was able to complete the witch's tasks with the aid of an enchanted doll given to her by her real mother before she died. Impressed by Vasilisa's capabilities, Baba Yaga gives the girl a magical lantern in the form of a skull with fiery eyes. Vasilisa returns home, and the light from the skull burns her evil stepmother and sisters to ash. In some versions of the folklore, she is said to have 3 mysterious servants who patrol her forest on horseback. These servants might appear human, but are not. They are personifications of certain natural phenomena. Bright Day, also known as the White Rider, is described as a man riding a white horse, and he represents dawn or day. Red Sun, who is known as the Red Rider, is depicted as a man riding a red horse, and he symbolizes the sun. And the Black Rider, who is portrayed as a man riding a black horse, personifies night. These riders cannot be encountered together, as each represents a part of the day, as measured by the sun. Bright Day is bound to and governs dawn to midday, Red Sun from midday to sundown, and Black Night rules until daybreak. In addition to these riders, Baba Yaga is also said to have invisible servants inside her hut. In Vasilisa the Beautiful, when Vasilisa asks about the hands that serve her food and drink, Baba Yaga explains that they are her invisible servants. Just as famous as Baba Yaga herself is the hut where she lives. Surrounding her hut, one may find a fence made from human bones. 11 posts are topped by human skulls. This boundary around her dwelling marks the separation between the mystical domain and the natural world. The bone fence and skulls symbolize death, transformation, and the threshold between worlds. It is also symbolic of the psychological challenges and fears the protagonist must overcome to reach Baba Yaga. The barrier represents the inner struggle one must face on a journey of self-discovery or transformation. This background hopefully gives you a better understanding of the Baba Yaga. As for her appearances in Dungeons & Dragons, we are sometimes given a figure at odds with that of our real-world folklore. Our first mention of Baba Yaga in Dungeons & Dragons comes from the 1976 Supplement 3 Eldritch Wizardry. In Eldritch Wizardry's brief chapter of artifacts, the entry for Baba Yaga's hut informs us that she is the greatest wizardress of all time. And that was probably correct. When we are given our first description of her from Dragon Magazine number 53, it tells us that she is the best known peril of old Russia. She is a dreadful ogre-witch who dwells in the deepest forest. She is a cannibal, and she lives in a house surrounded by skulls. She travels about in a giant cauldron, which she pushes with her broom. The sight of Baba Yaga causes fear in other creatures, and she can charm any who gaze into her eyes. She reappears 3 years later in the 1984 adventure The Dancing Hut by Roger Moore, published in Dragon Magazine number 83. In this adventure, Baba Yaga and her hut are described in great detail. It is from this adventure that we are told Baba Yaga is perhaps the most famous of all legendary witches, and her powers are described well in Russian folklore and literature. Baba Yaga spent much of her early life constructing the Dancing Hut, which now serves as her mobile fortress, home, and helper. The Dancing Hut is a small, windowless log cabin, hexagonal in shape, with a decorated wooden roof, only 15 feet wide and 12 feet high at the peak of the roof, with a small chimney on top. The hut does not appear very impressive, except for the 12-foot-long chicken legs coming out of the bottom. When first encountered, Baba Yaga's hut will be constantly spinning, and entry will be impossible without reciting the phrase, little hut, stand with your back to the forest and your front to me." Now keep in mind, this is just one version of the command phrase. Folklore includes multiple variations of this theme, and you might create your own for your game. The important takeaway here is that the spinning makes it impossible to enter without the proper command phrase. Said to be related to the various races of night hags, anise, and green hags, with extraordinary powers in addition, she is a supernatural being on the level of the quasi-deities of Greyhawk. Her wanderings have carried her far from her old home, and she wanders still on visits to monstrous relatives or on quests for rare treasures or living victims for her dinner. Since she eats as much per day as 10 men, she searches for prey quite often. In appearance, Baba Yaga is a man-sized, horrifyingly ugly old woman who walks crouched over. Her limbs are almost skeletal and are covered with hard gray-brown skin, upon which magical runes have been tattooed. She has a long, warty nose and a protruding chin, with ice-cold black eyes framed by her thin white hair. Stony teeth filed to points and iron claws in her fingers further emphasize her non-humanity. The next part is of particular importance and allows a creative dungeon master many opportunities to include the Baba Yaga in their campaigns, because we are told Baba Yaga is more than just an evil monster. Magic users, sages, and heroes appeal to her for guidance and knowledge, and quasi-deities and great heroes of all sorts have come to her to ask for her aid in solving problems. So long as characters are polite, they may receive help. She will ask characters their names and their reasons for coming to her, automatically detecting all lies or distortions of the truth. If the characters are honest with her, unless they confess they came to kill her, she will be relatively pleasant and helpful, though abrupt in her actions and somewhat cruel in her choice of words. She often acts in a bizarre manner, and she has been known to lie on the floor and meditate on problems for days. If she decides to help, she will geesh the characters in payment for her assistance. Usually, she will ask for some unusual magical item to be recovered for her, or an enemy of hers to be slain or driven away. She always sets tasks that are nearly impossible to accomplish. Sometimes she will offer a rich reward, but not very often. For some reason, though they are the most vulnerable to her, good aligned beings that have one hit die or levels or less will not be harmed by Baba Yaga. She believes this would bring a great curse upon her from all good aligned deities who protect the weak and good, and she instead sends such beings away. Many tales are told of good children who were abandoned on the doorstep of the hut to be taken in as servants for a short time before being sent away. Oddly, the children, nearly always young girls, benefited from the experience in various ways. Baba Yaga often rewarded good performance from such children with great gifts, possibly to appease the deities that were looking out for the youngsters. In 1986, the Choose Your Path adventure book by Roger E. Moore, titled Nightmare Realm of Baba Yaga, was published. In that adventure, the reader, with their dwarven thief companion, must recover a magical gem stolen by Baba Yaga, who is described as an evil witch. In 1988, Baba Yaga has a brief appearance in the comical Castle Greyhawk adventure. She is described as an absolutely horrendous hag. In the text, it instructs the DM to play her as a short-tempered 25th level neutral evil wizard if you don't possess Dragon Magazine number 83. Baba Yaga appears again, fully realized, in the 61-page 1995 second edition AD&D adventure, The Dancing Hut of Baba Yaga. The DM notes for that adventure state that the adventure pits the PCs in a battle of wits against Baba Yaga, an ancient and powerful sorceress, and against the extremely powerful semi-sentient artifact she has created, her dancing hut. It contains a mixture of problem-solving, combat, tricks and traps, and role-playing. While higher-level characters might be tempted to try to kill Baba Yaga and steal her hut, this is not the focus of the adventure. Instead, Baba Yaga is intended as a non-player character who can have a reoccurring role in a campaign. In that adventure, it tells us that although she is evil, Baba Yaga has a soft spot for the young girls who are sometimes sent by their families to live in her hut as servants. Baba Yaga usually does not harm the girls, even if their alignments are good. She always makes them work hard and is often short-tempered with them. Only if they vex her severely will she punish them. Punishments commonly take the form of sending them home without the magical item she usually gives to those who have acted as her servants for 2 full years. She was especially harsh with a serving girl who disobeyed a direct order. Even then, Baba Yaga did not kill the girl, but merely turned her into a hedgehog. Baba Yaga has adopted an unknown number of children. The most famous is Iggwilv, the mother of witches, known more commonly today as Tasha. Iggwilv's birth name was Natasha, and while growing up with Baba Yaga, she was called Natasha the Dark. Iggwilv first appeared in the AD&D adventure The Lost Caverns of Silkanth. Also bundled with that adventure was a booklet introducing us to many new monsters, assorted magic items and spells. Among those monsters was Kashtiktike. It was later revealed to us that it had been Baba Yaga who provided Kashtiktike the means to become a demon lord. Now, if you wish to include Baba Yaga in your 5e D&D games, the best version can be found on page 46 of the Creature Codex by Kobold Press. Her 3 horsemen can be found on page 29 of the Tome of Beasts, also by Kobold Press. So my conclusions for all of this: the folklore surrounding Baba Yaga varies across different regions and storytellers. Baba Yaga is a complex character embodying the unpredictability of life and nature. She is neither wholly evil nor wholly good, and her stories serve as cautionary tales about the importance of respect, cleverness, hard work, and bravery. In ancient folklore, she was used as a monster in the dark to scare children from ever becoming lazy and disrespectful. It is not only possible but probable that Baba Yaga was viewed as evil because of her association with pagan beliefs. In many ancient cultures, women who lived alone with knowledge of herbs and medicine were treated as witches. There are some minor appearances of Baba Yaga's famous hut in core rulebooks, such as the magic items section of the Dungeon Master's Guide, and she appeared briefly in some Dungeon and Dragon magazines. I have intentionally not discussed them since they added nothing of importance to the video, but I will provide links in the video description. I really hope this information has been useful to you, and you might find some way to surprise your players when they discover that the evil witch in the woods is far more complex than they had ever expected. As always, I'm your host Atten here at We Love TTRPGs, and if you love TTRPGs as much as we do, then I hope you'll stab that like button, leave a comment, and if this is your first time here, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss any future uploads. Thank you so much for your support.